a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Mr. Stokeley Marshall. Today, the Morning Watch is sponsored by Home and Things. Home and Things, they are the everything you need to renovate your space with brands you know, brands you can trust. You can visit them at 17 Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Also, Chris and Charles. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Teachers. The Chris and Charles double deal is here for you. Borrow $1 million from Chris and Charles and get 30% off your processing fees. Pay less than $25,000 monthly or borrow $575,000 and pay $12,595 monthly. No guarantor needed. Conditions apply. Offer ends May 31, 2023. Call 876-920-4189 for details. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, understanding the role and purpose of ESG scores. And in the second watch, June is Men's Mental Health Month. What's the state of your mental health? In our social media question, we ask, why are some men hesitant to seek help for the sake of their mental health? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share a conversation on the program, but first, as I quote.
Good morning. So today's I quote is an inspiration quote, and it says, and this is in honor of fathers, a father is someone you look up to no matter how tall you grow.
A father is someone you look up to, no matter how tall you grow. Very good I quote there. And why are some of these I quotes from someone who is unknown, Jakal?
I'm not sure. I guess I need to find them, but I'm not sure.
Good morning, Jakal.
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well. Well, let us see how much we can learn today.
That's right.
On the Morning Watch, two very interesting topics.
I see them, yeah, man.
The main watch will be back after this break.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Listen this Wednesday, June 21, as host Minister Minister of Information, the Honorable Robert Morgan, speaks with guest, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Deputy Speaker of the House and Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. Good morning, Minister, this Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101.
Chrissy, summer's coming up. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm just glad school is going on a break. Yeah, me too. I want to go somewhere nice with my mommy and daddy. Did you know Love 101 is going on the road? I wonder if my grandma would let you guys come with me and my family to I Love Summer. I Love Summer? What's that, Chrissy? I Love Summer is Love 101 FM's road show. They're going to 8 different parishes to talk to kids, and they'll have giveaways and prize, kiddie village, games, contests, and activities for everybody in the family, even kids. For real? That sounds like a lot of fun. I want to go. I'm going to ask my parents if we can go. Will they have food? Of course, food is on sale. Food vendors on the location. Nice natural juice from Clarendon blends and plenty more. I know you love your belly, so you'll be alright. Yes, I know my auntie and brother will want to come too. So this is going to be fun. Yep, so we can pray together with our friends when we go. This is why I love summer.
I Love Summer, Saturday, June 24, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Spanish Town Shopping Center, right by the clock. Live on Love 101 FM, the family station, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Hello and welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch. What are ESG scores? ESG refers to environmental, social, governance. It is an acronym which is becoming quite relevant to a number of businesses in other countries. I have not heard as yet as to whether they are relevant to businesses in Jamaica. I have seen indications that we have some sort of derivative of it here, but alas, we will be exploring ESG this morning to find out exactly what it is, why ESG, why at this time. We have as our guests today Mr. Paul Carroll. Mr. Paul Carroll is an environmental scientist. We also have with us Dr. Wayne West, Chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Good morning, Mr. Carroll, and good morning, Dr. West.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, gentlemen, starting with you, Mr. Carroll, in terms of you being an environmental scientist, would you like to briefly indicate to us what are ESG scores? What is the purpose of ESG scores? And maybe you could even tell us the genesis of this feature.
Okay, thanks for invite. Thanks for the invite. Now, the ESG, environmental, social, and governance disclosure. Let me make sure to add to that because it's really a process by which a company, a business, discloses to all and sundry. Especially those who might be thinking of investing in that company. They make a disclosure regarding their practices relating to environmental, social, and governance. And now this ESG has its genesis nearly 2 decades ago. And it came up from an invitation by the then United Nations Secretary General, Kofi Annan, who invited a number of about 18 financial institutions from 9 countries. At that time, with total assets under management of over $6 trillion US. And they participated in a meeting at the invitation of the UN, and they came out with a publication called Who Cares Wins in 2004. Right? And the institutions endorsing that report recognized that in a more globalized, interconnected, and competitive world, the way that environmental, social, and corporate governance issues are managed is part of the company's overall management quality needed to compete successfully. That's a mouthful. In summary, what it means is that this is a way of, this is one of the main things that, well, I wouldn't say one of the main things, but certainly one of the things that will contribute to the sustainability of a company. And as an investor, you really want to know and have some kind of assurance that you are investing in something that is sustainable. Right? And
what do you mean by sustainable?
Okay. Sustainable means that it's a business that will stand the test of time, to put in simple words. Right?
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean in English for the average listener?
That will stand the test of time, that it won't be here today and gone tomorrow. Simple.
You could simply make a lot of money and be here today and last for a long time. A number of companies have been around for the past 100 years, and I'm not sure if they had to comply with any sort of ESG requirements. So can you just be more specific if there's anything to be more specific about in terms of standing the test of time?
Well, let's look at it this way. There is the balance sheet of a company. That's one thing. And that could speak to the profitability of the company.
Yeah.
But there may be environmental and social issues that are not readily visible on the balance sheet that could result in serious problems for a particular company over time.
Hold that thought, sir. We want to bring in Dr. Wayne West before the break, because we are already almost upon the break. Dr. Wayne West, any comments? Because a number of concerns have been raised about ESG, depending on your views on environmental matters, depending on your views on social issues, to including how it impacts the church, and in terms of even probably governance. Dr. Wayne West?
Yes, well, the thing about ESG, correctly, Mr. Collins said it was started by the UN, the environmental aspect of the UN.
Mr. Carroll, yes.
But there are always ideological considerations. And like, for example, in May last year, Tesla, which makes these supposedly environmentally friendly vehicles, was removed from the S&P ESG top companies. And Elon Musk responded by saying, and I think this is an important takeoff.
Is it because he's considered by some people to be conservative in his worldview?
Well, all of these things come in. He said ESG is a scam, and it is just a way of enforcing the left.
He said it's a scam. Dr. West, hold that thought, please, sir. We are already upon a break. Let's just go absolutely nowhere. We will be right back on the morning walk.
Play your part in helping us become rock solid and ready. For more information on the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Policy, visit mof.gov.jm. The time by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service is
7:15.
My boss, I'm me, man. Greetings from your future self. Just so we can know that the things work out as we planned back in the day. We get the car we always want. And we can't complain about retirement. Nah, lie.
Start planning early with a Jane Individual Retirement Scheme. Retirement lasts longer than you think.
One piece of advice. Take some picture while we still have hair on our head.
Do your future a favor. Make sure you're in a position to enjoy retirement. Contact Jane Life Insurance today.
If you have financial needs, Mr. Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesday by the Tourism Product Development Company, enhancing and developing Jamaica's tourism product. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
This is the Colgate Max Fresh Swing. 10 times longer. That's the good Colgate Max Fresh. Healthy teeth brighter. That's the good Colgate Max Fresh. Feel the freshness longer. Colgate Max Fresh. Alright, my friends, it's time to try Colgate Max Fresh. What are you waiting for? Colgate Max Fresh.
What does CDD mean? CDD means customer due diligence. Customer due diligence is part of Know Your Customer processes used by financial institutions to identify their customers and verify their source of funds. It prevents money laundering. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch. Our guests for this first watch, we have Paul Carroll, environmental scientist, and Dr. Wayne West, chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. The topic is understanding the role and purpose of ESG scores. I recommend, listeners, that you go absolutely nowhere and you pay special attention to this segment, ESG scores. Now, Dr. West, you said on the program before the break, sir, that Elon Musk described ESG as a scam. Very strong words coming from Mr. Musk, but he is known to be someone who is not afraid to mince words. What was the genesis or the context in which he said this, Dr. West?
Well, his company was removed from the list of companies that were, as it were, complying with the ESG scores that's put out by S&P, you know. And what happened is that while his company, Tesla, which make these cars that are electric cars and supposed to be environmentally friendly, was removed from the list, 5 gas oil companies like Exxon remain on the list. In fact, Exxon was in the top 10. So he was pushing back and saying, well, listen, what about the environmental component? But his company was actually removed because of some governance issue related to race, so it was said, because of something that occurred in California. But let me say, I want the listeners to understand, right? The United Nations is a left-wing political organization. What do I mean by left-wing? It means it's going to go with any agenda that is related to things like climate change, homosexuality, etc., etc. the quote-unquote progressive agenda. So anything that
Dr. Wayne West, I know I'm cutting in here, sir, but the United Nations is made up of all the relevant countries of the world. In their General Assembly, they often vote against things that are left-wing. So what do you mean by the United Nations is a left-wing?
The bureaucracy. This is why you can have countries that reject what the bureaucracy. The United Nations
bureaucracy. Or you're making a distinction between what you're saying is the United Nations bureaucracy, meaning those who work there maybe on a day-to-day basis,
and the
countries that comprise it, sir?
Right. They are basically left-wing politics.
That's an interesting distinction, yes.
Impose a left-wing ideological position on everything. So there is a reality. There is a reality to wanting to have the ESG. It's not bad in and of itself, but it's going to be conducted in a way that is consistent with a left-wing ideological position. And that's why people like Moss say it's a scam just to impose left-wing ideology on business.
Before we go back to Mr. Carl, Dr. West, in terms of social, that means including things like diversity, equity, and inclusion to include LGBTQIA.
All of that type of thing.
So you would have to have a certain number of your staff or workers who are LGBTQ on your payroll.
Well, it can extend to that because the purpose of these criteria is to impose those sort of things on the business sector.
Or in marketing your products, you need to be sensitive to that. Well, you need to consider that some of your customers might be LGBTQ.
All of those, like I say, that concept, this cultural mark.
In terms of how you run your board of directors, you need to probably have like half of them women, half men, that sort of thing.
I wouldn't be so specific as that, but clearly that is part of the objective. The objective is to impose the ideology of the left on the business sector.
I see, and maybe some of the directors should be, well, maybe some of the directors probably need to be diverse in other ways as well. Socially, maybe LGBTQ, I don't know. Mr. Carroll.
I'm getting feedback.
Unfortunately, there's a feedback, sir, and I'm hoping you can cope with it. I'm going to ask if you can try to resolve it, sir. If you can try to resolve it on our end. But Mr. Carroll, you're an environmental scientist. In terms of ESG, do you consider the social and the governance, or you focus on the environmental?
Well, we have an interest all around, but our expertise is with regard to the environmental aspects. But as you know, the environmental aspects are also always intertwined with the social, and governance as well. But the Dr. Webb's assertion that the UN is left-leaning, I mean, that is...
Well, he clarified. I asked him, if you notice, I intervened and I asked him a certain question. He gave a clarification, but go ahead, Mr. Carroll.
But, yes.
He's distinguishing between the UN bureaucracy and the United Nations General Assembly. I have heard of that distinction, but go ahead, Mr. Carroll.
Yes, and indeed, there are certain organizations in the UN that they, for example, the largest economy, the US, refuses to contribute to, and we're talking about things like UNESCO. But be that as it may, we're looking at creating a framework, an overall framework that is going to make our resources, our natural resources, last as long as we can make them last and benefit as many people as it can. You know, the fact that a notable gentleman like Mr.
Musk,
Elon Musk, is against and has set the bitter end of the whole ESG process. Is something.
He says it's a scam, and I do see reference to it on the internet.
Something. But then we can compare that to, for example, one of our larger Jamaican companies, Grace Kennedy.
Yes.
That has recently engaged. This was well publicized. They have engaged NASDAQ to support the development of their environmental, social, and governance program. Right?
Mr. Carroll, I will jump in here only because of time, but I don't think people, generally speaking, have a problem with protecting the environment, I think the concern that some people might have is it being done in a way which
you must have a framework that is going to provide the tools to protect the environment.
No. I'm totally with you in terms of protecting the environment. I think most people, generally speaking, do care about emissions going up into the atmosphere from all of these various silos where you have all these chemicals, etc., and dust and pollutants. I think people are very much in favor of having clean air to breathe. I think where the rubber meets the road for some people is they can't seem to understand terms like decarbonization. I mean, we breathe out carbon dioxide. What do we mean by decarbonization? People can't seem to understand, why is it that we can't use gas vehicles that are cleaner? Why do they all have to be electric? So could you develop on that if you can, Mr. Carroll?
No, run that by me again about that electric.
Some people are of the view, why can't we just use cleaner energy that we have now, that is in a gas form? Why is there necessarily a push for more and more electric? Does it mean that there'll be a cleaner environment because you have to use the same energy, so to speak, to power the electric plants, to, in other words, power the outfit that will power the electric vehicles? So 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
You are quite correct, and that is why we have to look at beyond the face of it and go behind to find out certain other details of operations of specific companies. I mean, something comes to mind immediately.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Carroll, only because of time. Let me ask you this, Mr. Carroll. I know I'm jumping in. How many companies in Jamaica would you say among the larger ones which are currently using ESG criteria in their governance?
Well, so far I've only come across Grace Kennedy actually. Okay. That is actually publicizing it, but that's not an in-depth, so that's an in-depth investigation. But you have other companies that are their parent companies are overseas, and quite likely those would be, I would think, looking at it. But there is also another aspect to it that people might not be looking at, and that is the whole existing framework, which is the ISO, International Standards Organization.
Yes.
That makes standards for various things. Okay.
Well, we have a number of companies which have been complying with ISO standards for decades now.
Yes, and the drivers for that, as you can imagine, is not local; it's international.
I see. I will quickly mention
the international market unless you have ISO certification.
Thank you for that, Mr. Carroll. Only because of time, we want to bring in back Dr. West. Any closing thoughts, Dr. West? By the way, I should probably indicate that I am a director of a company. I have heard of this talk of ESG scores, and I think it's a conversation that is going to continue. Dr. West, any final thoughts before we close the segment, sir?
I just want to say that Elon Musk didn't say that ESG scores ratings should be removed completely. He just said that there is a left-wing bias to it. It is fuzzy in terms of how it is actually worked out. And because of that, and it also does not incorporate the total real-world impact of companies. It focuses on a particular left-wing agenda. And so what we need to protect the environment, yes or no, but of course what we need to do is to get political ideology out of these things, and that is where the rubber hits the road. You need to be sharply focused on the standard by which these things are done and measured, and to get the left-wing political ideology out of it. So that
as a Christian NGO, sir, you have any particular concerns, or you have already aired them? Any other? As a Christian NGO, do you have any other concerns, or you have already aired them all?
I think I personally think that the people who control ESG, that's where the problem is. they are going to punish persons who do not have their worldview. These two don't always boil down to worldview, the way you see the world and what agenda you want out of it. And because the people who control these things, like the UN, like I said, they are left wing, they are Marxist in their point of view.
Well, if Jamaica goes down that road, sir, maybe we need someone like you to be a consultant to it, Dr. West. Dr. West, thank you for being with us on the Morning Watch.
Let the public know that this is another means of seeking to control the Jamaica population in order to achieve a particular political ideological objective.
Have to leave it there, Dr. West and Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll has a lot to contribute as well.
Remember, decades ago, when the environmental movement started, it was regarded as left wing. I rejected it.
Anything can infuse anything, Mr. Carroll and Dr. West, but we have to leave it there today. Mr. Carroll and Dr. West, thank you for being with us in the Morning Watch. Listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
JN Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:31.
At Flow, we are determined to get it right. Now, over 60% of Jamaica has access to our fiber fast network, with over 800 communities being upgraded since 2020. And there's more to come. Everything we're doing is inspired by our harshest critic, you. Join Jamaica's fiber fast network and rediscover Flow today.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Rise with the sun and face the day with some Lasco instant chocolate. Pull a pack, stir it up. Hot or cold, enjoy the chocolatey goodness any time of the day and unleash instant smiles, instant happiness.
Are you ready for a prophetic encounter? Join the Gifted Network for the National Prophetic Summit, July 14 to 15 at the Ambassadors, 63 Hadley Park Road, Kingston, featuring special guests, Prophet Novi Elias, pastor and founder of Revelation Church LA, Prophets Chambray and Jaquan Gamble, and more. Be a part of this unforgettable event. 2 power-packed days of dynamic prophetic teachings. The National Prophetic Summit, July 14 to 15, Kingston. Get your tickets and learn more at thegiftednetwork.net or WhatsApp 876-404-2535.
Importers. Shipments requiring you to pay customs duties and taxes are cleared on a customs goods declaration known as an IM4 or IMS4. Ask your clearing agent to provide your customs declaration, customs assessment notice, and customs receipt once duties and taxes are paid. Where your clearing agent may not be able to provide the IM4 or IMS4, request your customs goods declaration registration number or C number, which can be used to verify your payments. Importers, request your IM4, IMS4, or C number. It is your right. For details, email the Jamaica Customs Agency at public.relations@jca.gov.jm. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Downswell Records, in association with Best Dressed Chicken, present the Kevin Downswell album launch and concert.
course, I'll be there to bring you the hottest mixes and remixes and refixes.
And passing through to lively up the place, Lubert Levy and Odia Spencer. I love Summer Keith, and you have got to be part of it. So, rock and Colleen.
And let's make it the place to be.
Hey, KG, DJ, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. The question is, can Spanish Town handle it? I know they can.
Loads of fun about to be unpacked. So yes, Spanish Town, let's go!
I love summer. Saturday, June 24th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Spanish Town Shopping Center, right by the clock.
Live on Love 101 FM, the family station, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
I love summer.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, wholeness tables, job descriptions for parliamentarians. This is the Prime Minister tabling the job descriptions in Parliament for parliamentarians. We have in the Loop Jamaica News, sentencing of Klansman gangsters moved to September. We have in the Observer, lawyers barred. Attorneys say they aren't allowed to see clients on Saturdays at Tower Street Prison. Well, the terminology we use these days is usually correctional centers. This story by Elisa Dunkley Willis. The leadership of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center in downtown Kingston and some members of the legal fraternity are loggerheads, again, over a restriction on Saturday visits to clients by the attorneys who are contending that other people have been allowed to visit while they are barred. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Of course, coming up next, we will have feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is what are some, or why, I should rather say, why are some men hesitant to seek help for the sake of their mental health? If you haven't done so, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125. Using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the developments in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Listen this Wednesday, June 21, as host, Minister of Information, the Honorable Robert Morgan, speaks with guest, the Most Honorable Gillette Holness, Deputy Speaker of the House and Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. Good Morning Minister, this Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging challenging to cope during this period of crisis, someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marsh. We get right into the second watch. And June is being celebrated as Mental Health Month for men. And the question could be why? June is Men's Mental Health Month. What's the state of your mental health? There has been much focus on mental health in recent times. In fact, it is indicated that about 53% of men in Jamaica have been experiencing varying levels of depression. Well, if that number is true, it's a very high number. 53% is more than half. Now, if it is true that there are varying levels of depression, what is causing it? And it has been indicated that these levels of depression range from mild to moderate to severe. Now, the theme for 2023 concerning Men's Mental Health Month is building healthy environments for men and boys. So, although it is Men's Mental Health Month, the theme includes boys. Our guests for this segment, we have Jason Downer, president of Mogava, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. We also have Paul Bourne. Mr. Bourne is a research consultant. Good morning, Mr. Downer, and good morning, Mr. Bourne. How are you?
Good morning to your listeners.
Morning, Sir Stokey. Morning, Mr. Bourne. Morning to your listeners. Big up to Love 101.
Now, jumping right into it, Mr. Bourne, you sound like you're ready to bat first.
I've been at Wicked for some time.
Mr. Bourne, let me jump in and ask you then. Why the focus on mental health in these past few years when before now it was not mentioned as much? In fact, it was considered to be taboo. Why mental health and why now?
And that's a very rational why we need to study the mental health, because if it's a taboo matter, then we need to actually look at what is actually going on. And within the context that COVID-19 saw an increase in number of domestic violence, particularly perpetrated by males.
You have data to support that, Mr.
Oh, yes,
Mr.
man.
Bourne.
Yeah. Well published in the Green.
And I'm taking up on this side, that's asking.
Yes, man. We do not speak without information. So within that context, we wanted to study sort of what is going on.
Domestic violence was men against women or women were against men too?
It was men against women and women against men.
I see.
So that context, let us actually do the research on that.
A joke, I'm just asking, sir.
Yes,
all right,
man.
so there has been an increase in mental health issues. Why Mental Health Month then?
I'm not sure why the month has been designated Mental Health Month for males. But within the context of the numbers, I think that has been a good choice, because we're talking about over 50% of the men are suffering from various degrees of depression, particularly post-COVID, and that means we need to actually address.
And I gather you have something to do with this study, Mr. Bourne.
Did you not hear that?
I gather that you have something to do with this study. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I work with a group of students who are nurses, because I teach the nurses every summer to December. So currently we are working on some more information for you to get as well.
And
so
these are nurses. These are student nurses or
student nurses, 4th-year student nurses.
And okay, which institution, if you mind my asking?
Northern Caribbean University.
I see. Let's bring in Mr. Downer before the break. Mr. Downer, any thoughts before we head to the break, sir?
Yeah, man. I mean, somewhat. The gentleman is correct in terms of data that is coming out. But it's interesting to point out why I believe one of the look at mental health in men is because while data will capture domestic violence, a lot of times based on the physical aspect of things, men are now speaking out. So listen, the emotional and psychological distress caused by the females sometimes creates or causes us to respond the way we respond, not justifying it.
Was that not Mr. Downer, because you have gone down a particular road there? Very interesting, sir. Listeners, do not move from your device. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, better the winner. Shop on supermarkets. Everybody
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45 and 40 seconds.
Juicy and a real party bra. Everybody,
get the door, burn up your Juicy have the best patties. One bag of flavor, them fling panny. Love it, freshly baked, the flaky crust. Let me full me good, the gas a bus. Shrimp or veggie patty. Whoa, juicy have the flavor you love. Chicken or plant-based patty. Whoa, juicy have the real patty. Juicy have the patty, them Jamaica love. Get it today, Island White.
Mormac Auto Parts, your Honda Ridgeline new parts dealer located in Kingston. Call us at 326-7371 or 821-5232. Remember, we are your Honda Ridgeline new parts dealer located in Kingston. Call us at 326-7371 or 821-5232 now.
Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Women Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Women Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
If you have financial needs, Christian Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Christian Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you dig alone in Christian Charles.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&M Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jmbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&M Bank will help you find a way.
whoa, juicy and a real party bra. Everybody,
get the door, burn up your Juicy have the best patties. One bag of flavor, them fling panny. Love it, freshly baked, the flaky crust. Let me full me good, the gas a bus. Shrimp or veggie patty. Whoa, juicy have the flavor you love. Chicken or plant-based patty. Whoa, juicy have the real patty. Juicy have the patty, them Jamaica love. Get it today, Island White.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch. The topic is June is Men's Mental Health Month. What's the state of your mental health? Our guests are Jason Downer, President of Magava, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse, and Paul Bourne, Research Consultant. Jason Downer, just before the break, you were, well, I hope you weren't giving an excuse as to why men commit violence against women, but You were giving what's an explanation, and I've heard this explanation before. Sometimes the way women react to men, let me say to us, can trigger the man to want to commit violence against women. Mr. Downer?
Yeah. I mean, so based on, what is coming out in directly dealing with men, that's one of the reasons. It certainly doesn't justify the act of being violent. Because you have to remember now, it boils back to another problem that men might have, which is that they lack emotional, in many instances, some instances, they lack emotional intelligence and self-regulation. So that because the woman in your life might be...
Or the man just reacts very negatively when he believes he's being disrespected.
The same thing. Yeah. But it's not a response to have. That's the point I'm making.
I think that is a bigger problem. But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Downer.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a bigger problem. I do know it's a problem.
Yes.
When we look at this thing from different perspectives, then we can be...
Does culture have anything to do with this, Jason Downer? Does culture have anything to do with why men become depressed?
And how we speak about masculinity. When you're raised in the Jamaican culture, masculinity, the messaging of masculinity comes out certain ways. So that's our main part.
What do you mean by certain ways?
In other words, how to be a man. What makes you a man.
Mr. Carroll, why are you laughing? Jason Downer, hold the thought one moment there, sir. Mr. Bourne, you seem to have a point to make. Why are you laughing?
No, I'm laughing because a number of things mentioned by Mr. Downer came up in a research that we did where we asked women why were they physically abused, and many of them said, we're talking about over 82% of them said, the financial difficulties was a part of the reason why their male partner was abusing them. And other reasons were also given. Now, it clearly means from the research that we actually did, we're talking about last year, it says to me that the culture plays a part of how women interpret things and how they are interpreting the behavior of the male. So which leads to a part of what Mr. Downer is saying. We're not justifying the action of the males, but even the women are saying, listen, the economic challenges of post-COVID is explaining the behavior of their males, their husbands, their boyfriends, etc.
Maybe and job loss, they lost their business, they couldn't come out to do any peddling on the road.
And the women are saying that's what is going on.
I see. So lack of money, they become miserable, and the depression sets in.
But not only that, a number of them during the COVID period were staying home. Yeah. So they were home with all of this frustration, not being able to deal with these matters, express them in a good way, and therefore their actions is actually indicating their frustration that we were going through during.
And the boys would have been at home as well in online schooling.
Absolutely, and all that create frustration for the male, who was many of them not working, lower income, etc.
I see. only lower income, Mr. Bourne?
No, not only lower income. But the women were saying that these were some of the reasons why they were actually being abused. What we also need to point out that about 40% of those persons who were in abuse were actually upper middle income individuals.
Interesting, Mr. Bourne. So, Mr. Downer,
okay.
As a man from Magava, any comments as to how this can be all tackled? June is Men's Mental Health Month. Go ahead, Mr. Downer.
Yeah, man, sure. Just to mention this, I work at the Matilda's Card and Domestic Violence Intervention Center as one of the counselors and cards. And it's interesting that when a report is made by the alleged victim, or the victim, the alleged perp, it's normally that she's beaten up. Which is most of the times it's male or the perpetrators. When you speak to the male, he sees it as we had a fight. It's like she hit me first and I responded, and it seems that I am beating her up. So I just want to point that out to how things are interpreted. I do believe we need to reach men where men are. I think men listen to men, and oftentimes when we talk about mental health or the issue of the domestic violence, we have the messaging coming from women. and women approaching men about it, they're not really necessarily talk to women. But when a man go to a man, like for example, Sunday we were in half a tree, the father would stand, and we going to engage the men. The men were very receptive because as a man you can identify with what he's saying and you can share your personal experience.
Yeah.
That's men approaching men in a non-threatening manner. We find men more receptive and more than receptive begin to begin to change whatever maladaptive behavior they might have and seek the necessary help.
But you know, I like that, Mr. Donor, and I want to actually point out something based on research because I don't think women are understanding what is going on to men. We found that 25% of men in Jamaica said that life is not worth living. All right? And 10% of them said that they have attempted suicide. So it means that the men are going through psychological trauma. And here the women are not understanding that what their males are going through. And they are likely to act or not act. And the man not knowing how to deal with the problem actually does so in a physical manner. So when you point out that it is good for males to actually try to do that, even when we're doing research on some issues, particularly the male issues, we sort of use the males to get information from the males because we understand what does it mean in terms of truth and information from the males as a result of the culture.
Mr. Bourne, how can men be directed away from reacting violently? How can they be directed away from maladaptive behavior to something that is...
I'm not sure it's maladaptive, you know, because sometimes some behavior, not that they are warranted, but I'm sure, Mr. Stokeley, you should also be aware, because I've been married for a while, and sometimes it's only as a result of my constraint as a person why I don't do some things, because my wife will do something sometimes I really wonder. Sometimes she said that she's playing and she'll actually hit you, and sometimes for me it's not playing. So what I'm saying is that a number of the men need to start understanding that not because the female act a particular way, hit you, etc., or say something belittling to you, you're going to respond. But it takes a strong male.
I think you're asking men to exercise self-control.
They have to. They must do it so. Because if they don't, they're going to be at police stations.
Exactly.
Right?
Because I have seen many occasions the woman, she definitely instigated the issue or the problem. But because the man is so much stronger and heavier, and even when the man is sometimes shorter than the woman, the hit of a man's hand is a different hit from the hit of a woman's hand most times. No matter what the man shot.
Absolutely.
Right?
And women need to pay attention to this.
When it goes to the station, the man is getting the blame.
Absolutely.
Jason Downer, any comments as to how men can not respond in a negative way and how to, of course, tackle the depression before we wrap?
All right. So yes, the self-restraint is very important. But a lot of times, and I mentioned it earlier, emotional intelligence is also very important. So when you're able to recognize how you're feeling, that's vital in you actually stopping a certain reaction, physical reaction. And so one of the things I encourage men to do is to seek counseling. Have a community that you can talk with.
Yes.
Because, and I find more men are receptive to counseling than what people think, because it's how you pitch the conversation.
I agree with you, Jason.
Sometimes when you say to a man you need counseling, or a boy, they become defensive because automatically you have something wrong with them.
It's how you frame it. Yes.
How you frame it is vital. We have a program in Edith Downtown and Pembroke working with boys who have certain, do some fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
And the first thing when they come in the program is when we have to know tactfully. Say to them, no man, this is not about what you do. This is about helping you to press. And let me tell you, after that, it was just a floodgate open.
Exactly.
So I think
they start to talk. Yes.
Men, it's not that men don't want to talk and men don't want to improve on certain behaviors.
That's how you approach it.
It's how we approach them.
Have to leave it there though this morning, gentlemen. Wish we had more time, but we're completely out of time. Paul Bourne, Jason Downer, thank you for your time and thoughts. Thank you for this discussion today. And of course, thank you, listeners, for being with us. Download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us. This has been the Morning Watch, please. And we are the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, hanging back to Love in the Morning with Jukal.